Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for having us here. My name is Brian Cottam. I'm the Director of the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, as well as the State Forester.
We have a question from Representative Ivory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian, yeah, obviously very extremely interested in this issue. We had in the economic analysis that was done by the team of economists from our 3 universities in the report that they put out, they said that as of 2005, 77% of our forests managed by the federal government are in catastrophic condition. They exceed their own prescribed tree density limits. What that says to me from what we've seen in Huntington Canyon, what we're seeing in Garfield, what we're seeing in Iron County is our entire watershed is a spark away from being devastated for decades. I mean, what the senator experiences in his district with Huntington Canyon, I don't know that that's going to regenerate for decades.
Probably not.
So how 600,000, 150,000, the magnitude of that problem, is that a drop in the bucket?
Yes, sir. It's taken us, you've heard this before, it's taken us 100 years to get into this mess, and it's us, everybody that's had a role in land management. And it's going to take some years to get out of this. But kind of like Phragmites, we got to start somewhere, and CAT fire is a pretty good start. So 600,000, it's a drop in the bucket in the big picture, but it's going to make a difference in the Mammoth Creek area.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and absolutely. I mean, doing nothing is not an option. I mean, this is in my mind, this is red alert, priority A#1, because that's our water.
Yeah.
I mean, all of our water for the Wasatch Front everywhere comes from that great sponge up in the mountains. And when we've got these densities that are catastrophic, and we're already seeing the fires and seeing the consequences, we can't with impunity hide our eyes and say, we don't know what's going to happen. We clearly know what's going to happen. We've got the photos that Senator Hinkins showed us right here in these committees. So knowing that we're in that condition, we're a spark away from that, is there not something more that we can and should be doing?
Well, absolutely. We could be doing more of this type of work all across our forest. We could be doing more active management. We certainly advocate for that. State foresters advocate for that. That's our position, is more active management on federal lands.
So what type of response cooperation are you getting then from our federal partners to realize this is our home? I mean, people that come on a 2-year rotation from New Jersey, they may come and go with impunity, but this is our home. What type of cooperation are you seeing and receiving from our federal partners to deal with the red alert that this is, as I see it and as I think you've indicated, to really raise this to the level of severity that it needs to be where, and it's not just water, right? Of course, the pollution that comes off of that, you know, the NOx, the SOx, the VOC, the mercury that comes off of these fires, devastating, where the governor said burning one log is like a car going from Salt Lake to St. George and back. Well, how many logs are in an entire forest that goes up? And then the animals that are killed, the watersheds that never regenerate. So what type of cooperation are we seeing? What type of indication are we seeing that our federal partners realize this is a red alert for our home, for our recreation, for our livelihoods?
Yeah. Let me give you 2 answers on that, because I absolutely agree with you 100%. And our risk assessment that we're building is going to give us even more proof about where the threat is and where the total risk is. But 2 answers to that question. The money that I've shown you on these 2 slides, that's specific to CAT fire. And again, that's a start. It's a drop in the bucket in comparison to the need all across. But that's not all the money that's being spent in the state of Utah when it comes to fire risk reduction and fuels reduction. And most of the money that's spent in the state of Utah on that type of activity is federal dollars. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on. So money is coming into Utah to get this type of work done. The Watershed Restoration Initiative does big landscape scale projects, which I'm going to talk to a little bit further on about that critical piece of reducing risk. So a lot of work being done, but we've got to be more diligent. But here's the answer that I'm really excited about. To a great degree, because of the funding that you all have given and the strategies, the approach that we're taking as a division, we, the state of Utah, in many instances, are now leading this conversation in the state of Utah. And that's what I want, and that's what I expect. But I have resources now that I can bring to the table that we've never had, that a state forester prior to me couldn't have had that leverage. to get the agencies, to get local government, to get other partners to the table to make joint decisions based on scientific risk and the actions necessary to reduce that risk in any geographic area. So you ask, what is the support of the agencies? It can fluctuate, it can vary, but I have commitments from the BLM, the Forest Service, and NRCS that they will be at the table as an active participant at our statewide steering committee, as well as at the regional work groups. And again, those are our planning tables. They're coming to our planning table. You've sat, I'm pretty sure you went to one of the Wasatch Front Area Regional Work Group meetings. We lead the discussion, and I've got resources now, leverage now because of you all that we've never had before. And that's a good thing. And we've got local government at the table as well, too.
Just to follow up to that then, so Representative Christopherson passed the catastrophic wildfire public nuisance bill this year that was passed by the legislature, signed by the governor. Is there catastrophic planning, contingency planning, so that we don't have another Huntington Canyon situation, so that we don't lose those watersheds for decades? Is there some kind of contingency planning where we begin to execute and go down the road of House Bill 148, where if our federal partners cooperate with us, marvelous, wonderful, great. If they don't, and our history has been mixed, or maybe just poor on this, where our federal partner, we're in the condition because what they call in their own Forest Service reports the process predicament, management by litigation, analysis paralysis. Meanwhile, our forests get more catastrophic and the risk gets greater. So is there some type of contingency planning where we don't wait any longer to protect health, safety, welfare of our forests, our watershed, our wildlife, our recreation, life and property in our communities?
Yeah, and that's going on certainly through CAT fire. So where there is that cooperation, yeah, that's a good place to do it. But with the bills that you all have passed, there are other options. I don't know if there are other planning efforts yet where maybe the cooperation hasn't been as good, and so they're taking advantage of the bill that you mentioned that we can try to leverage that approach. I know there's been particular interest in Garfield County and Kane County, and they have talked to my forestry and fire staff down there, and they're prepared. My staff, as we've discussed during the last legislative session, are prepared to assist with that process. But I'm not sure if any of them have moved just from a discussion of need.
Thank you. Going forward, I mean, that's 80% of our watershed is at risk. If we don't put that at the priority it needs to be, I think that would be on the order of government malpractice. So we'd look forward to continued guidance from you on what we need to do in taking a proactive approach rather than, a wait and see approach when we know what the trajectories have been. So thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you.